You kind of have to get over yourself and just be willing to get dropped.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Lucky 13 episode.
Lucky 1-3.
Yeah. Of Coaches on Couches.
Bing slouches with a non-slouch.
Another non-slouch today.
Got a non-slouch.
Real quick, since we just kind of released all of the previous episodes into the podcasting world, if you are listening to this via podcast, make sure you drop us a 5-star rating. It's going to help us. It's going to help us get.
We should probably say what the date is, right?
No, why?
Huh?
Why would we do dates?
People are listening on, in the future.
They're going to get based on any current events that we talk about.
Well, what if they're watching it later? They don't know when Big Hill Pond race was. Okay, we'll discuss whether or not we're going to do dates.
Anyways. All right.
It's October, end of October, 25th.
Leigh Ruston's on the couch today. But first, shout outs.
Shout out.
I think they're all mine.
Dale's got them all.
I think they're all mine
today.
All right, I'll try to make this quick. First, Meg Densmore. She finished her first 70.3 in New Orleans.
Nice.
They cut the swim a little short, but that does not matter. She's a heck of a swimmer anyway, so it would have been a moot point. Liz Hall. She's another one we probably need to have on the couch one day. She's got a pretty good story, similar to yours, as far as battling adversity. But Liz was second overall female at the Pumpkin Run 5K, which is more significant because there's a PR 5K for her.
There you go, Liz.
This past weekend.
Nice.
And then the rest of my shout-outs are from the Big Hill Pond, the Walking Tall 25 and 50K. First of all, the race directors, Sean Hills and Brian Williams, did a fantastic job. The event was stellar. Big Hill Pond State Park kind of went above and beyond to make the event really awesome. Daniel Arnold killed us all in the 50K.
Dropped the hammer on you, huh?
He did. From pretty much as soon as we got in the woods, he was gone. First overall male in the 50K. Nathan Huff, I have to give him a shout out. He was second overall in the 50K, and I've kind of ran behind him for probably the first 25K. And that dude is so fast down hills, it's insane. I would get close to him and just close some gap on the flats and then on the uphills. And then as soon as we hit a friggin' downhill, dude was gone. And then and then eventually trying to match his speed downhill, my quads were shot 15 miles in.
That's saying a lot.
You
blow out Quads Malone's quads. You're doing some stuff.
He was balling. Jason Cruz, one of our athletes, was 8th overall in the 50K. And then, let's see, Coach Chris took the win in the 25K.
Yeah. And
his wife, Rebecca, was second overall female.
Yeah.
Yep, in the 25K.
They almost swept the 25K.
They got close. It was close. So that's where that's where I'll leave it. There's a couple more. There was actually a set of twins. I think they were twins. They look very similar. That were first and second in the 50K female.
Nice.
Yeah, so they ran together and
really
came across the
so
finish.
there's pictures of both of them at the same time.
Yeah, so I don't know which is which, but they finished
awesome.
first and second, but they were rolling too.
Lee, any shout outs?
No.
No
I
shout.
don't have any today.
I thought we were going to shoot shout outs for the socks.
Swiftwick.
We got Swiftwick
the
and Drop
fall
Socks.
Collection.
Drop Socks. Swiftwick.
We're starting a new theme.
Yeah.
Wear your colorful socks if you're on the couch. If you're on the couch.
Or bare feet. That's cool too.
Barefoot's cool too. Not in the winter.
No.
All right.
So we're going to dive into getting to know Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we had to put her in a headlock and to get her to come on the couch. But
Leigh is very humble and doesn't like to talk about herself too much.
So we'll do that part of it. But first of all, Leigh, give everybody a kind of rundown of your family life, work life, just your life scenario in general, so that everybody can understand that you're not like a professional athlete.
No, I'm far from that. Well, I've been married to Todd for about 18 years.
Shout out to Todd.
Yes, he's the best. I have 2 kids, Chase and Jackson, and they are 17 and 14, both boys.
So
in
not
high
busy
school.
there, right?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. Both play competitive sports, and I'm a part-time personal trainer at the Bartlett Recreation Center. Been doing that for about 6 years.
Awesome.
That's about it.
So just kind of give everybody your kind of major tips on like how do you go about balancing everything with
Soccer tournaments.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just everything that goes on between having high school age boys and part-time job and, you know, a household and your training and everything else. So how do you go about balancing it all?
Well, I have a lot of lists. I have sticky notes everywhere. But really, I have a family that supports what I do and what I love to do. And we all kind of support each other. And we all go to, you know, I go to their games. And of course, they're my kids, so I'm going to. But they come to my events. And I just try to include them in as many things as possible. And so we kind of just balance each other out by helping each other. And when it's busier time for me, they step in and help. Or, you know, Todd really helps a ton. But really, it's list. It's just constant daily tasks that I have to mark off and be on top of. And you know, a lot of times we're running from one event to the other, or like you said, traveling. We travel a lot, so you just kind of have to embrace that kind of a life.
Yeah. Do you find if you don't write it down that then it creates a whole lot more anxiety and
Yes.
you probably
So do you put the sticky notes like on yourself so you have them for later?
They're everywhere.
They're just all around the house?
Yep.
Well, one thing you guys also have done a good job as a family is you've got your camper. And so there's been a lot of times where you're using a bike race
Yes.
as an opportunity
As
to
family.
also go and have family time. So I think that's another thing you've done very well is to do that. So that's
which I will attest to isn't always the perfect scenario for a family outing. We did the same thing at Big Hill Pond this weekend, and I felt a little bad as I was in the woods for 5.5 hours that my family was kind of just out there waiting on me. But I do think as an athlete who this is your thing, like this is your thing. So integration of the family is got to be there for it to be balanced out and for everybody to kind of
when they feel like they're a part of your life that they can't actually participate in, but they can be part of it that way. So
and maybe someday.
And Todd's actually your husband's gotten into riding.
He started
as well
cycling.
now, so
Yep.
he started doing some riding.
Yep.
So
So that's even better.
excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
So give us a brief background on like what you did sports wise growing up, and then how that kind of moved into endurance sports, what you did in endurance sports, and how you kind of finally landed into competitive cycling.
I've been pretty athletic my whole life. Started with t-ball and softball and basketball. Played basketball till I quit growing, and then I realized it was probably not the sport for me. A little 5'3" point guard doesn't work out in high school. So I guess as an adult, I cheered in high school. I loved cheerleading. And then
Shout out to cheerleading.
Yes.
Should be
Wives and cheerleaders.
So as an adult, I started running just to get active, and I've always been pretty competitive, but in a nice way. I'm not usually too mean about it.
You're the
but
quiet assassin, Leigh.
Yeah.
You're the quiet assassin.
I'm really competitive.
Leigh will get you on looks. She just throws a look. Like,
Yep. So I did a few sprint triathlons, and then I went for the Ironman in 2014 and completed my one and only ever. That will be the last time I do that one.
Checked it off, and that's been enough.
Shout out to the Ironman.
which one was it?
Louisville.
Okay.
Before they changed the date.
Yep.
So
yep.
it was like 100.
When it was blazing hot.
Yeah.
And they ran out of water. And
Yes, it was rough.
Yeah.
But I realized I wasn't like great at running, and I wasn't great at swimming. But I love cycling, and so that's kind of where where I went with
Which
that.
is pretty common for quite a few folks that you'll see that, gravitate more towards the bike that are doing triathlons. And then, as far as getting into bike racing, so that happened the year after, right? Biggest difference between like Ironman and say competitive cycling in your mind?
I mean, they both can be difficult to manage because it depends on how much time you put into both. I mean, you can put in 12 hours of cycling a week or the same with Ironman. But for me personally, running hurt. I'm a self-taught swimmer, so I'm not real good at it. And I just felt like I was kind of like good at 3 things, but not really good at one. So I just thought I would focus on one and try to be more competitive. I wasn't able to be competitive with the other 2.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's definitely a different type of suffering.
Yeah.
There's different levels of suffering, different types of suffering.
Right.
Competitive cycling, even at the higher levels when the races are longer, is a totally different type of suffering, if you want to put it that way, to like doing an Ironman or any type of ultra distance event. So part of the reason why we wanted to talk to Leigh today is because she's kind of all the ladies that we've coached, or just anybody we've coached over the years, Leigh has been one of them. And I mentioned Liz earlier because Liz is another example who have kind of gone through an injury or 2 or however many, and have kind of come back from it, had setbacks, come back from it, had setbacks. So just kind of, I'll let you and Bryant go through kind of the last couple of years and how that's gone, and then how you guys kind of overcame everything that got thrown at you.
Well, and that's actually how I met Liz, was through
That's
both
right,
of our
yeah.
injuries. Hers was a couple weeks after mine.
And then Cindy as well, right?
And,
It was all
Cindy,
similar time frame.
Yep.
So another one of our athletes.
So it was like Cindy went down on the on this ride, and Liz was also involved in that wreck, but didn't get hurt. And it was maybe like, I can't remember, a month or 2 later that Liz went down because of a dog. And then Leigh went down in
at a
Tiger Lane. So I'll let you jump in more into that.
Me?
Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
So it was actually 2016. I crashed in a crit in the rain. So not all crits are dangerous and they don't all have to be avoided. But it was raining. So that was the cause of my accident. And I shattered my elbow. I had 3 surgeries to fix it, about 75 therapy visits to get the range of motion back. And that's kind of what happened with the first accident. It was a big one. I was stuck on the trainer inside for the first 4 months. Wasn't allowed to ride outside until August of that year. The biggest thing was it was at the beginning of the season, basically in April. And so it took me out of the season. Took me, several months to kind of just get back to where I needed to be.
So I remember us just talking like right after it happened. Initially it was, I'm never riding again. I think I'm done.
I had already posted bikes online to sell, and I was trying to sell all my equipment.
Calm down, wait until give it a month. This is something that, and in a lot of sports, it's not just cycling or triathlon or endurance sports. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be bad times. But one of the conversations you and I had, and I had just come off a bad injury in 2014 going into 15. This is your thing. This is something that for a lot of people, no, we're not professional athletes, but our training, our workouts, our exercise, our teams is stuff that makes us better in all areas of our life. And if you take exercise away from a person who's so used to it and uses that and gets energy from that and has a better positive output on those around them, I'm a much more pleasant person if I've been working out versus, I've gone a week not hitting my workouts and now I'm, angry because, I don't feel good, and I'm angry because now I feel like I'm getting behind. And and that's one of the conversations we had was, how are you going to be, there's going to be a risk of you getting hurt again. but is that going to come at more of a cost to your family than you having to rehab through another injury?
Well, and when you have an injury that's so quick and sudden, and it takes you out of the game like in 10 seconds, your whole athletic world is turned upside down.
Yeah.
You go through different emotions, and that would be my first piece of advice: is don't make big decisions right after. Don't make decisions on what you're going to race. Don't make decisions on if you're going to race anymore or if you're going to sell all your bikes. Because once the emotional part of that injury is over, then you understand that you can come back to it sometimes.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to ask like how long you thought, or how long, if you remember, how long did it take you to kind of get over the mental side of, well, crap, my season's over, I'm hurt, but this isn't the end of it.
When did we talk? About 3?
We talked about 3 weeks after, probably.
So 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
It was a little while.
Yeah.
Because you're hurting and you're tired and you're frustrated that you think all your goals are gone, and but it took me a few weeks.
Leigh said something really good there. Like, don't on both sides. One, it's like some people go, okay, I quit, I'm never doing it again. Other people go, okay, I'm going to do what race can I do right afterwards? And it's really easy for you to try to speed up your recovery process, and your body can only recover so fast. I mean, you can do stuff to help aid in recovery, but you can only recover so fast. So if you put this big, lofty, quick goal, there's a good chance you may end up injuring something else on your way to try to get back to peak fitness too quickly. Right. So that's another kind of recommendation there is be patient with the healing process and allow your body time to recover.
Yep. So after the first wreck and the first surgery, that wasn't the end of it.
No.
Wow.
Then 2018 happened. So I thought that I could race in the rain again. I found out quickly that I can't. So my racing in the rain days are over, but my racing days are not. So I just have to be a little smarter. I crashed again in May of this year and fractured my left scapula. And it's crazy, but instantly I knew what was coming. I just knew I knew trainer rides were in my future. I knew something was wrong. But what's so cool is that I've been through this before, and I was like, well, I got this. I can, I think I was back on the trainer May 8th.
Yep.
Crashed on the 5th, and I was back on. Yep. My doctor gave me the go-ahead and said, just don't put weight on it, and I was in a sling riding my trainer.
Which is a huge testament. So this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about on behalf of Leigh, is she had what we would call a breakout year this year. She won the, I think we might be getting to your results here soon, but she won the Cat 3 Women's Road Race this year. She won the Cat 3 Women's State TT. That State TT came not long after the injury she had. She had great results at Rockabilly this year. She was second in the women's race at Rockabilly, and that was a month after this injury. But what people didn't see was the fact that Leigh was back on her bike, and I think you put in, I need to go back and look, but I think you put in like a 13-hour week on your trainer right after this injury had happened.
Yeah.
So you were dedicated. It was something that you did the work that a lot of people probably wouldn't. A lot of people go, oh, I'm hurt. This could be an excuse for me to sit out. But you'd worked so hard up to that point. Your dedication in that time right afterwards was something that laid the groundwork for a lot of great results the rest of the year. But that's something other people, don't see. They saw the successes that you had, but your dedication this year and your ability to handle a bigger training load this year was something that allowed you to have a lot of successes, which I was proud of for you.
Right.
So how many total surgeries do you have?
I had 3 on the elbow alone. The elbow just affected, every part of my arm, my shoulder, my hands, my nerves, my fingers. Yeah. So to correct it, but
because you'd have to wear that extender, right?
Yeah.
Where it was forcing your arm to actually extend.
Yeah, it was a doozy.
So you have any other major advice for people who get are have an injury that sets them back, and maybe they can't do what they want to do completely or fully? Any other?
Two things. So surround yourself with like-minded people. We're all a little bit crazy in the endurance world. People that want to train like we do and you know, put our bodies through what we do. Find those people because they're the ones that will usually get you back to where you were. Also find something else to do. A lot of people think that because it was my arm that my legs weren't affected, but actually for quite a while, you know, I wasn't able to do that. So I got out and walked. I did something. You just have to keep doing something. And especially if you're competitive, find something. If I had found a walking race, I probably would have entered it. So something, just do it.
Yeah, I think it's just that C word that keeps coming up, consistency. It's even if you're not doing the exact training that you want to do, continuing to do something will, at bare minimum, keep your brain from wandering and you losing your mind because you're just not able to do what you love.
Yeah. And I think that's a bit of a foreign concept, not to anyone who'd be listening to this most likely, but there's some people that I just don't think get the happiness, the joy, that people get from exercise and competition, both. Like I got into cycling because I was looking for something competitive to do after basketball.
Yeah,
like I needed that competitive outlet. But same with exercise. It's like, I'm sure all three of us can say the same thing. If you don't get a workout in, you're like,
Yeah. Well, it's a good self-esteem booster, and it's a good, like, it builds my confidence when I've hit a workout or I've won a race or, you know, and so when all that's taken away in just a few seconds, your body just is like, doesn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely jumped into endurance sports because I enjoyed competition first and then the exercise part of it secondary.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, for a lot of people who are highly competitive, that's how you got into this stuff.
And you probably know you're one of those people, like if you get done with the race, regardless of where you finished, but you start looking at like the people who were around you in the finish. Yeah. And then the next race you go out and you're trying to beat those people.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're a competitive person.
Or on a hightailers ride, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
So, Bryant, we were talking about Leigh, you know, Leigh having a breakout year.
Yep.
You know, amongst all the adversity, and we had this. Leigh wasn't the only one again, and you know, Cindy and Liz too have all had adversity and have all had fantastic seasons.
Yep.
But just roll through some of Leigh's results real quick so she doesn't have to talk about herself.
Yeah, so I mentioned two of them already. 2 state jerseys in 1 year. That's a huge result in and of itself. So going into this year, one of the things we wanted to focus on was Leigh's threshold power. So we wanted to boost up her ability to, because we knew if she could, we wanted to make sure if she was in a break that she had the power to like stay in a break. Coming off injuries, working on max sprint power and mixing it up in breakaways, or not breakaways, and field sprints wasn't our focus. So our goal was more on boosting up that 5-minute, that 20-minute range, you know, kind of VO2 max into that threshold without getting too crazy with the terminology here. So the state TT you won, which was huge. St. Louis, which was a big race and brings in some top level folks. You were second out of, I think, 20-ish folks in that race. Another good result there. The Rockabilly race where you and Sass snuck away and 1-2'd it. Another solid result there. And then you were just really consistent throughout. I mean, you worked as a good teammate. But it was going into any race, I had confidence that Leigh had a chance at being, you know, top 5. So it was just it was a huge season for you, and I think your confidence grew and your ability to try out new stuff really grew this year, which is how you learn and how you become a better racer. I think one of the things, you know, from another training side of things, you were one of the ladies who was constantly on the harder rides in town.
Bingo.
So our Saturday tough group ride, our team ride,
that was huge.
Leigh was very consistent with that, and now you're to the point where, you know, you've built up this ability to handle a big training stress, and so now you're doing, you know, 70-mile rides. You're riding more before group rides, and now you're, you know, just this past weekend, she was one of 3 people taking pulls on the harder section of the fast team ride or group ride in town. So there's 3 people taking pulls, and Leigh was one of them. So it's been a great year, and instead of sitting in and waiting until the end, you were actually in there taking pulls, knowing it might mean you're going to get dropped and won't be there at the end. But it's October, and we're just working on you having fun and trying new things right now before we kind of unload and head into 2018.
Yeah, I think, and that's a point that I kind of want to push out there, is that of all the things you can do in training, and there can be all the secret workouts that aren't so secret, but there, the fact that you've forced yourself, or we've kind of forced you, or Brian's forced you onto
and your competitive nature as well.
Yeah, I will.
And you've pushed yourself into these harder rides with mostly guys, and you're still in the rotations, still taking pulls, and a lot of times you're, maybe not at first, but now you're there at the end with all of them, and you're not just like, sitting at the back still. You didn't build up the ability to stay in, and then, okay, I'm just going to surf the back now that I can stay in. You built the ability to stay in those hard rides, and now you're increasing your training load just by doing those rotations and being one of those people that works a lot on these rides.
Well, and at first, when I first started really riding with the guys and going to those type of rides, and even some of the faster hightailers rides, I had to be willing to get dropped.
Sure.
You have to put the work in, and putting that work in, like you said, might get me dropped on a certain section of the ride or whatever, until I was to that level that I could hang on. And then you go to the next level. Okay, what kind of work can I do? And sometimes you would tell me, try to sit in a little bit more until you're there, or and then you just go to that next level and figure out, okay, I can put in a little bit more work this week or whatever. But you kind of have to get over yourself and just be willing to get dropped and
I think that's
fight for it.
Huge
massive
thing.
Yeah,
is you have to be willing to get dropped to actually get more fit.
Yeah,
absolutely,
and to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are. So we'd have you try to attack the group at certain spots before, like right at the start of hard sections, and say, hey, just see how long you can stay out there. And this is an all-in move. And if they catch you, you're not conserving and hoping you're going to hop back in and be in the sprint. This is your how long can you stay away sort of effort. And that builds fitness.
Yep.
So we all know that cycling season is, for us anyways, is super long. Pretty much, anywhere from here south.
Yeah.
You can race almost year round. So since it starts pretty much for us the end of February, and it pretty much goes through September, how do you stay motivated over that crazy long season? I mean, triathlons, it's almost as long, or pretty much as long, because around here it starts in April and then goes through November. I mean, so how do you stay motivated over such a long season?
I mean, my family motivates me. I can't mention them enough because they just are real key in encouraging me to keep doing what I love to do. But having a coach, one of these guys, really helps. I know there were several times that you allowed me to do a little extra when I wanted to, or you gave me freedom throughout the year, and it wasn't just this rigorous training plan that I had to hit. And then you kind of reined me back in when I thought I could ride for hours and hours and not get tired. I think that often, but so having a coach is a big deal. You've been coaching me for 4 years now, so and then,
all structure and no play makes for a very mundane.
Yeah. Because a lot of times I would just send you an email. I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to do
you mind
this
if
today.
You can do that, but tomorrow we need to scale things back some.
Right. And you kind of let me fail a little bit too, I would guess. I guess you say when I would do too much or something, you would say, I was wondering when it was going to happen, when you were going to figure this out, that you can't just keep going and going and have a long season. So I've learned that over the years. And then finding a good riding partner, a good training partner, or a good group to be, involved with helped me a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, the group, I mean, a lot of people get into endurance sports because of the social aspect and the community aspect of it. But, I mean, that is like one of the biggest things that will keep you going, especially if it's just one person. One training partner can keep you motivated through the entire season. All right, so what what we want to do next is give some tips to the ladies out there. Shout out, ladies. Give some tips to the ladies out there who are considering racing a bike. We want to get, Brian and I want to see more ladies on bikes. I'm sure you do too. We'd love to see the fields at these races,
And it seems like they were bigger overall this year. I mean, I haven't seen statistics on it, but I felt as though the total number of women racing seemed to have increased some this year over.
Some were. Some races were smaller, but some were bigger, like Gateway Cup.
Yeah.
I've never raced in a race with 50 women. And that was 3, 4, 5s. So that was really encouraging to see some of these bigger races still, because honestly, that's the announcers kept saying at that race, this is your future of racing is the 3, 4, 5s.
For sure, yeah.
For the pro women, because that's where they'll come from. So just first you got to sign up. You got to find a race and you got to register. Until you're signed up, you're really not committed to it.
Yep.
Second, don't do like I did and just go pick a race. Maybe ask somebody what a less technical course would be for beginners. I picked Tell of the South as my first race ever.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's not very good. The name should have scared me, and it didn't. So, but I kept going.
So would you recommend people or recommend ladies get in crits, road races, time trials? I mean, we're talking any lady out there who is just thinking about it and has never raced a bike race in her life.
If you were doing it all over again, what would you start with?
Road racing, I would. If you really like cycling, then I mean that's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's essentially it ends up being like a hard group ride.
Right, and time trials, that they're great and they're quickly becoming a favorite of mine to do. But I don't know that it shows the actual aspect of racing in a pack of other people. And crits can be intimidating just because everybody thinks they're scary and everybody crashes. But there are less technical crit courses that are just as safe as a road race. And that's why I say just ask somebody. If you like the longer distance stuff, then go for the road race. If you like the crowd aspect and want to be cheered on every 5 minutes, then go for the crits.
The crits are more exciting.
They are.
And a little more entertaining.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that, for someone who's really on the edge and has no clue, because one of the big things we always get is like, what average mile per hour do you have to be able to hold before you can start racing? And we always encourage folks to like go out and do the group rides that the racers are doing. Like get out and find the racers, find those faster group rides. And even if it's not what the racers are doing, get plugged into a group ride. You're going to meet people. You're going to get pulled into that community and then allow that progression, from there to getting, stepping it up to a faster group or, talking to some of the other females who are out there racing and getting feedback. So just kind of plugging yourself into the community is a huge thing to do.
And a lot of us will be on the A and the O group rides. So if you come to those and you like that atmosphere of what that offers, then you might like racing.
Yep.
So. And
don't be afraid. Just like Leigh is not afraid to get dropped on rides and is trying new stuff out. Don't be afraid to get dropped on a group ride. I mean, no one's there taking notes. At least I'm not, of who got dropped today and who did not, who stuck with. So it's actually a lot less intimidating than what most people would think when they're first getting into it. Most people are very welcoming, as far as my experience goes, especially in Memphis, on helping new folks.
So last question. What's next?
Well, I already have my race wish list started.
Brian's, I'm retiring. I'm not riding anymore. I'm done.
Nope. So I think I'm going to hit some bigger races next year. Definitely looking at Sunny King. Looking
Shout out Sunny King.
Hashtag Sunny King.
St. Louis racing is always big.
St. Louis always draws a good crowd.
They have some tough women out there.
Yep.
Someone brought up the Oklahoma City Pro-Am Classic. I might look at that. And then I was thinking about Wisconsin, about the
Ooh, Dairylands?
yeah. So
Just because you love chocolate milk, or
just because I've never been. So
yeah, that's what 12. It's like 12 days of racing or something, consecutive days.
Yeah.
We've had a few folks that have gone and done that.
Yeah. And then the state races. So
got to retain those jerseys.
Bam.
Yeah. So we'll see.
What about Tulsa Tough? I've always wanted to get over to Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Crybaby Hill.
You don't want
I just
to
want to
do that?
experience Crybaby Hill one time.
Maybe
is
maybe
my
I'll
plan.
go right over there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Leigh, we appreciate
Thank you.
having you here on the couch with us. It has been shown to boost performance. We've had so we might need you to go race now.
Yep.
People have had some great races
With our
coming off the
socks.
couch. But it's been a pleasure coaching you for sure. You've had some great results, and I'm looking forward to even more next year. And yeah, I think we're going to keep the good times rolling.
Yep. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, listening, watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Adios.
Peace.